Hello, it's Miss Heather from Conservatory of the Ozarks, and I'm going to read about the Liederbuch for my Hymnody study guide. It came out in 1524, and Luther wrote 4 hymns in it. Paul Speratus wrote 3 hymns, and Justus Jonas wrote 1 hymn. The Liederbuch, hymnal of 8, also called Eitlich Christlicher Lieder, published in 1524, was the first German Reformation hymnal. It was compiled and published by Jobst Gutknecht of Nuremberg. It contained 8 hymns, 4 of which were Luther's. 3 of the hymns were written by Paul Speratus and 1 by Justus Jonas. It contained only 5 melodies. 2 tunes from this hymnal are in the Lutheran Book of Worship, the LBW. They are called Es ist das Heil, LBW 297, and Nun freut euch, LBW 299. The actual title page was Some Christian Hymns, Canticles, and Psalms made according to the pure Word of God from Holy Scriptures by several very learned men to sing in church as it is in part. Oh my goodness, that's a lot to read. As it is in part already practiced in Wittenberg. This shows that Luther had already begun to introduce some of the new hymns in the church services. The 4 hymns which Luther wrote in the Liederbuch are Dear Christians, Let Us Now Rejoice, O God, from heaven look down, Although fools say with their mouth, and From trouble deep I cry. Paul Speratus, 1484 to 1551, was born in Swabia on December 13th, 1848, possibly at the castle of Rothlin near Ellwangen. His name was originally Paul Hofer or Offer, but he later Latinized it. In 1502, he began his studies at Freiburg, which he continued in Paris and Italy. In 1581, he preached at Dinkelsbühl, Bavaria. During the next few years, he also preached at Würzburg and Salzburg. At both places, he was forced to leave because he expressed his evangelical views too openly. In 1520, when he received his Doctor of Divinity degree from the University of Vienna, he married. He was one of the first priests to marry, breaking away from the Roman customs of celibacy. He was denounced by the theological faculty at Vienna because of a sermon he preached defending marriage and setting forth the doctrine of justification. He became a preacher in Moravia, where he gathered a large following. King Ludwig called him Olmutz, where he was in prison for 3 months. In 1523, he came to Wittenberg, where he worked with Luther and assisted him in preparing the Liederbuch that was published in 1524. Later, he was appointed court preacher to the Margrave Albrecht at Königsberg. Luther had recommended him for the position. Speratus had a great deal to do with the drawing up of the liturgy. Kitty! Bad kitty! No. Don't do that. With the drawing up of the liturgy and canons, the Kirchenordnung for the Prussian Church of his day. He died on August 12, 1551, as the Bishop of Pomerania. Speratus wrote the text for one of the hymns in the LBW, Salvation unto us has come. Kitty. All right. 1524. The Enchiridion. The Enchiridion was published in 1524 in Erfurt. 18 of its 25 hymns were Luther's. In 1824, in Wittenberg, the Gesangbuchlein was published. This hymnal contained 6 more hymns. Luther wrote the preface for it. Johann Walter arranged the music in 4 parts for training young voices. Johann Walter, 1496 to 1570, was a close friend and collaborator with Luther on many hymns. For 3 weeks in 1524, Walter lived in Luther's home as they worked on the German Mass and prepared a 5-part harmony for the Geistliche Gesangbuchlein. Walter is considered to be one of the earliest Lutheran composers. He's known more for his musicianship than his hymn writing. He was born in Kala, near Sachsensburg in Thuringia in 1496. The first 28 years of his life are unknown until 1524, when it is reported that he was singing bass in the court of Friedrich the Wise, Elector of Saxony, at Torgau. In 1526, he was made Zingengermeister or Kapellmeister by Elector Johann of Saxony. When this electoral kapelle was disbanded in 1530, the town reconstituted it, and Walter later became the cantor in 1534 at the school at Torgau. In 1548, he went to Dresden as Kapellmeister to Elector Moritz of Saxony, where he remained until 1554, when he was pensioned on August 7th. He returned to Torgau shortly thereafter and died March 25th, 1570, or at least no later than April 24th, 1570. Most of his hymns appeared in Das Christlich Kinderlied die Martini Lutheri, published in Wittenberg in 1566. He and Luther are said to have laid the foundation for evangelical church song. In 1529, the Geistliche Lieder was published by Joseph Klug. Luther's Mighty Fortresses Are God first appeared in this edition. In 1539, the Geistliche Lieder was published by Walter Schumann in Leipzig. It was new and improved by Luther. In 1543, Geistliche Lieder was revised by Joseph Klug and was published. In the preface, Luther complained that people changed his words. There's a really big thunderstorm right now. In 1545, Geistliche Lieder, the Baptist hymnal, was published. Luther considered the Geistliche Lieder Wittenberg, which was edited by him and published by Valentin Baptist Kitty in Leipzig in 1545, as his hymnal. It was considered the finest hymnal of the Reformation period. It was most complete and most carefully edited during Luther's lifetime. He wrote the preface for it, which ended up being his last contribution to Hymnody. It contained 2 parts. Part 1, 89 hymns, 59 melodies. Part 2, 40 hymns, 38 melodies. This is probably the finest hymnal of the Lutheran Reformation in Germany. It is referred to as the Baptist hymnal because Baptist is the name of the printer who published the collection. It contained 89 hymns with an appendix of 40 additional hymns. Even though there was a proliferation of hymnals throughout Germany during this period, this is generally considered to be the most representative hymnal of its time. The Lutheran chorales, which this hymnal represented, were drawn from 5 basic sources. The first was the sequence and office hymn. These were Gregorian chants that were simplified, altered, and improved to make them theologically acceptable and more singable for the congregation. A good example of this style is Nun kom der Heiden Heiland. Yeah, that's much more simplified to say. The second source was the Leisen. These are a body of pre-Reformation sacred folk songs sung by the people in the vernacular. Christ ist erstanden is a good example of this genre. The third source of early Reformation hymnody was the Latin cantios. These were pre-Reformation songs which, although religious, were not directly related to the liturgy. Many macaronic texts fit into this category as well. Macaronic texts mix the vernacular and Latin. For example, in Dulce Jubilo typified that style. And one more little thing is the importance of the chorale. From a box CD, Harmonia Mundi number 1907-17, Chorales de Noël, notes by Philippe Beaussant. The full extent of the importance of the chorale in the history of both the German people and German music can never be measured. Luther's musical reform is without a doubt one of the most brilliant achievements in all Western culture, and perhaps the only deliberate and conscious creation issuing from a single man to have become totally popular for centuries, by which I mean of having been assimilated and infused with life by an entire people to the point that it arose from out of the people and served to nourish a vital and living musical art. All German composers lived off it for 2.5 centuries, and Bach more than any of them. So, good job, Luther. Good job. Thumbs up.